in the courtroom in Nashville and told the judge they let him out, he was going to come kill her. This was probably the 5th time or 6th time in that time period where they get in a fight and he'd beat her and everything else. And they let her out and they didn't tell us, and they didn't put the ankle monitor on her. They just let him walk out of jail.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Coffee with Crime podcast. I'm Brittany. I'm happy to have you here. I hope that everybody is doing well today. So for today's video, I'm going to be discussing the very recent murder of Lauren Johansen, the primary suspect, her ex-boyfriend Brycen Rivers, and what we know so far. So before we get into it, as always, I want to remind you that all of the information that I'm going to go over with you guys has been pulled from very public sources. Of course, it will include some of my own opinions as well. But as always, I recommend that you do your own research and form your own opinions. And of course, don't forget, Brycen is innocent until proven guilty. Even though the evidence, I'll admit, it does look very damning, he still does deserve a fair trial. And then lastly, if you are interested in true crime like myself, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a video. Alright, so let's just get into today's content. Lauren Johansen was a 22-year-old nursing student found beaten to death in Mississippi, allegedly by her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Brycen Rivers. So the story is not only heartbreaking, but it's also infuriating because the way that it happened and the circumstances around Lauren's death make it clear that her death was definitely preventable. This is because the ex-boyfriend, Brycen, who is being accused of murdering Lauren, was released from jail just days prior to the event, after Brycen's bond was lowered from $250,000 to $150,000. So what was Brycen in jail for, and why was his bond reduced? So just over 6 months ago, on December 11th, 2023, Brycen was arrested and charged with 2 counts of aggravated kidnapping, aggravated stalking, and witness coercion. And it was Lauren Johansen who was the victim of these crimes. It was while the two were allegedly vacationing in Nashville, Lauren called her family to tell them that she was actually afraid that Brycen might kill her. And according to Lauren's father, orthopedic surgeon Lance Johansen, Brycen had physically beaten Lauren at least 5 times prior to this time in December. So none of them, Lauren or her family, were unfamiliar, with Brycen's abusive and aggressive tendencies. In the December incident, the Metro Police were actually contacted and told that Brycen was holding Lauren hostage. When the authorities arrived, they found the couple parked in a parking lot, and Lauren was actually banging from inside the vehicle, screaming for help, at which time Brycen was actually reportedly reaching for a firearm in the backseat of the vehicle when the authorities showed up. Lauren was said to be wearing only her underwear. She had a laceration to her head, swollen eye, and the car was actually covered in blood, according to the reports, including the previously mentioned firearm. That was also reportedly covered in blood as well. Police said that Brycen did not have any wounds on him, but if you look at this picture, you mean to tell me that nothing on his face are actually wounds or his own blood, but instead this is all Lauren's blood on his face? I mean, that is absolutely terrifying. This picture is terrifying. How could a judge not see, based on not just his image, of course, but the description of the event and what he was charged for, how could the judge not see how dangerous this man was? According to Lauren, Brycen was simply upset because she was talking to another man. And this is what led to the hour or longer beating that she endured. Lauren even said that she tried screaming for help at any car that passed by her, but Brycen would actually cover her mouth so that they could not hear her. Also, according to reports, Brycen was on the phone with his mother, Chelsea. I'm not sure if it's pronounced that way, but apparently he was on the phone with his mother multiple times, and at one point, Chelsea heard so much screaming on the other end that she actually went ahead and contacted both the police and Lauren's family. BRICEN's own mother said that she was actually afraid that BRICEN was going to kill Lauren. So when BRICEN was finally taken to jail and charged, his bond was originally set at $250,000. And Lauren's father actually says that he sat in the courtroom and told the judge that if they let BRICEN out of jail, that he believed he would kill Lauren.
I sat in the courtroom in Nashville and told the judge they let him out, he was going to come kill her.
However, on March 13th, 2024, BRICEN requested a reduced bond, which actually was approved on April 3rd, 2024 by Judge Cheryl Blackburn. So for some horrible, unknown reason, she did approve this reduction in bond. I don't understand why she would ever have approved reducing his bond, but she did. Even though, his charges were so violent, even though Lauren's own father said that if BRICEN was to be released from jail that he would kill Lauren, even though the Nashville and Davidson County District Attorney's Office said that they actually opposed the reduction of the bond, still, Judge Cheryl Blackburn did make that final decision to reduce BRICEN's bond. And this would ultimately allow him to not only be released from jail while awaiting his trial for his horrendous and violent crimes against Lauren, but ultimately it would allow him to allegedly murder Lauren. However, there were some stipulations when it came to BRICEN being released from jail that the judge imposed. So one, BRICEN was supposed to not be able to leave Davidson County, Tennessee. BRICEN was supposed to be required to wear a GPS. And BRICEN was specifically not to be released from jail after 4 p.m. because this is when the GPS monitor company Tracking Solutions would close by. I found this all honestly just really odd because I don't understand why the ankle monitor wouldn't have been put on him before being released from jail. I'm not sure if this is like common practice. If somebody in the comments or listening to this knows, I'd be interested to hear. But I would think that, if someone's being released from jail, especially for like a violent crime, that they should actually have the ankle monitor on and be sure that it's working appropriately and, the parameters are set appropriately before being released from jail. But, this isn't, my area of expertise. That's just simple old me thinking that. But regardless, on June 24th, 2024, BRICEN Rivers was released from Davidson County Jail, and I could not believe it when I read this. He was actually released from jail at 4:05. Literally, the stipulations from the judge said that he could not be released from jail after 4, but according to reports, he was released at 4:05. So this is 5 minutes after the time that he was supposed to be released, or the latest that he could be released, because the GPS company was going to be closed. So because he was released late, Tracking Solutions was closed like they were concerned about. And so instead, the bail agent took him to another company called Freedom Monitoring Services. However, this company wasn't prepared for BRICEN, and the bond order was not available to this company. So they took BRICEN's word that he was allowed to return to Mississippi. They took his word. So the GPS that they put on BRICEN, they did not set the appropriate parameters, and he was able to leave Davidson County, and he was able to return to Mississippi, which, mind you, this is where Lauren was living at the time. She was living in Mississippi with her sister. And this part in particular, it really, really confuses me, upsets me. This amongst many components with this case, but wasn't the bail agent at all familiar with BRICEN's bond conditions? I don't understand how the bail agent did not know to let the GPS company know that he was to stay in Tennessee. I don't understand how the bail agent didn't know that he was not to return to Mississippi where the victim of his crimes was living. To me, God, this just doesn't make sense. There's so many things that don't make sense to me. Still, it wasn't until June 28th, so this is now 4 days later, that the Freedom Monitoring Company finally did receive the bond paperwork. 4 days later. But by this time, it was obviously too late. BRICEN was already released with an ankle monitor, yes, but it allowed him to go right back to Mississippi and right back to his victim's residence, Lauren's home. So really, the GPS was pretty useless. They did try getting a hold of BRICEN to have him come back and get a new GPS monitor. Of course, that did not happen. They also were in contact with him a couple of times about charging his GPS, which I guess he did respond to a couple of times and charged his GPS, but it was all for nothing because when it comes down to it, he never returned to get the appropriate GPS that was supposed to stop him from leaving Tennessee. It was also on this day, June 28th, that BRICEN's probation officer actually reached out to Tracking Solutions, so that would be the original GPS tracking company, and informed the company that BRICEN never actually reported to them. So now we have a violent offender who was released from jail because his bond was reduced. He never reported to his probation officer, virtually had a useless GPS. And so because of these events, the district attorney's office actually reached out to Lauren's dad, Lance Johansen, to let him know that BRICEN was not only released, but that he had not been heard from.
This is Bailey calling from the district attorney's office here in Nashville. BRICEN Rivers was released from custody. He was supposed to report straight to a GPS company and be put on a GPS monitor, and he was not to leave Davidson County. But as soon as he was released, he did not report to that GPS monitoring company, and he has not been heard from. So I want to make sure that Lauren is safe.
Why wasn't Lauren and her family notified immediately when BRICEN was released? Better yet, why weren't they notified before he was released so they could prepare, be on the lookout, take any steps to actually protect Lauren? I don't understand. I think that if at minimum they should have been let know the day of his release, but I really think that if he had a set day to be released, why wasn't the family notified ahead of time so they could actually prepare and do whatever it was that they felt they could do within their power to protect Lauren from BRICEN? But no, they were not actually told of BRICEN being released from jail until June 28th, which is 4 days after the fact. How many people dropped the ball here? And even more so, Lance actually didn't receive that message until 3 days later. So this would be on Monday, July 1st, when her father actually received that message. And I'm sure when he heard that message, he had to have been absolutely pitted, terrified. He does say that he tried getting hold of Lauren immediately, but he was unable to. He admits that he receives like a text message from her during this time, but says that the text didn't seem like Lauren to him.
I called her, I didn't get a call, so I texted her, and I got a text back. It didn't really look like her the way she talks.
I can only imagine what is going through his mind at this time. And then early Tuesday morning, so this is the following day, July 2nd, only 8 days after BRICEN was actually released from jail, Lauren's father received a notification that her Life 360 tracker was disabled. And so he called up Lauren's sister, whom she was living with at the time. And Lauren's sister said that not only was Lauren missing, but that their front door security camera had been destroyed. And I cannot imagine just the fear that Lauren's father was feeling at this time. You know, knowing that BRICEN was free from jail, knowing that he had not reported to authorities, knowing that his daughter was missing, that her Life 360 tracker was off, their security camera was destroyed, knowing the history between the two and BRICEN's repetitive, violent behaviors towards his daughter, knowing his intuition that if given the chance, BRICEN would kill his daughter. I just can't imagine the torture that he was feeling in these moments. So naturally, immediately, the Johansen family reported Lauren missing to the Hattiesburg Police Department. But for some reason, it wasn't until the following day when Lance contacted the police department again that they actually then used OnStar to track Lauren's car. Another question, why did they wait until the following day? Why did they need to be called again and reminded to begin looking for Lauren, especially if they had something like OnStar where they could track her so easily? When they finally did use OnStar, they were able to track her car, and it showed that it was parked at Wolf River Cemetery, and this was located near Hattiesburg, Mississippi, where Lauren was living at the time. And yeah, like I said, why? Why was there no urgency? Especially because at this point now, BRICEN had a warrant out for his arrest. And I'm sure that the authorities knew the circumstances and the fact that Lauren, his previous victim, was missing and BRICEN wasn't reporting and had a warrant out for his arrest. I mean, all of these things added up. You would think there would be a sense of urgency and that they would have acted a lot quicker than they did, but still they didn't. And I can't help but wonder why and question, how many people really failed Lauren. The judge, the bail agent, the police department, obviously BRICEN. I mean, so many things went wrong. So many people failed to do their jobs, to act quickly, to protect Lauren. And you have to wonder, like, if one thing was done differently, if maybe her life could have been saved and this could have been prevented. Anytime that, a young person's death seems preventable, it just makes it that much worse. But when authorities would arrive at Lauren's car that was parked in the cemetery, they would actually witness BRICEN at that moment running from the vehicle into the local woods. And when they approached the car, Lauren's body was actually found within the vehicle, wrapped in trash bags and sheets. Lauren's dad actually arrived to the scene and actually helped the coroner remove Lauren's body from the vehicle. And the way that he described it is absolutely devastating, but he, basically described her body as mutilated.
I knew she was dead. When we got there, her car was out like in the middle of the cemetery. She was in the back of the car wrapped up in a bunch of sheets and trash bags, and she was basically beaten to death. Her face was smashed in, her head was smashed in. She was just brutally beaten to the point she couldn't see out of either eye when she finally died. I helped the coroner lift her body out of the car. It was just mutilated.
All of his worst fears had come true regarding his daughter, and ultimately his daughter was stolen from him. It honestly makes my stomach hurt to think about. As a mother, as a parent, I feel so sad for this father and what he went through. He knew that if BRICEN was going to be let out, that this would happen. And it actually led to a 6-hour manhunt involving multiple different agencies, so including canine officers and other authorities. Tons of people were involved before BRICEN was actually caught. And the way that they caught him was they actually had found out quite early on. They say that BRICEN had his phone on him, and so they started texting him, trying to pretend to be a friend of his. They eventually lured him out of the woods.
Probably had in upwards of 50 law enforcement officers out here, several drones. We had our helicopter out. We had dogs, canines from all over the coast. We realized early on that the subject still had his cell phone on him. So undercover officers were able to, through text messages, have Rivers believe that he was corresponding with a friend, and we were able to lure him out.
And there's actually even a drone video of the moment BRICEN ran out of the woods and straight into the officers that were waiting for him. So finally, after the hours of search and communicating with BRICEN, he was detained. He was taken into custody. And this part is so infuriating. He was actually given another bond. Yes, it was $1 million bond, but still, that he has any bond. Why? Why not hold him without bond? Even if they don't think that, he'd be able to pay this bond, the principle alone, respect for Lauren, respect for her family, he should be in jail without bond. There should be no possibility for him getting out. I don't understand why there would be any bond. Even if it's higher, even if it's $1 million, even if it's $10 million, it's just the principle behind the fact that he should be in jail without bond. He previously had a bond that was paid, And he lost that right when he was released from jail and then murdered Lauren. There should be no bond. I'm not gonna go off on that tangent, but I just don't understand. Are we really more concerned with like money than the safety of like innocent victims? I don't understand. I just make it make sense to me. If BRICEN really did this, which the evidence looks really, really condemning on his part. I mean, yes, he is innocent until proven guilty, but let's be real, the evidence, looks pretty strong against him. But let's be real. The man deserves to rot in jail while waiting for trial. And then if he's found guilty without a reasonable doubt, I hope that he is punished to the max of the law. Better yet, put him in Gen Pop, in prison, and let prison justice do its thing. I mean, that might sound a little harsh, and I know that everyone won't agree with me, but at the end of the day, he took someone's baby girl from them. He took someone's daughter. She will never come back to this earth, and he will never get to hug and love his daughter here on this earth anyway. I don't know what you believe in after this, but here on this earth, he will never get his daughter again. And so if he's found guilty, BRICEN, without a reasonable doubt, maybe just put him in Gen Pop. Let karma do its thing. I don't know. Just saying. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know. But that is how I feel. Anyway. It also does show that BRICEN has been arrested before, once in 2021 for a DUI, and then again in 2022 for possession of a controlled substance with intent to deliver, trafficking in controlled substances, and auto burglary. And again, look at his face in this picture. He has scratches all over it. It also looks like, he might have either like scratches on his neck as well, maybe like a large bruise on the other side. I don't know. I wonder, could this have been from Lauren defending herself against his abuse, his physical abuse? Of course, that's all speculation, but remember, Lauren's dad had said that BRICEN had beaten Lauren at least 5 or 6 times that he knows of in the past. And so, I mean, he just has scratches and stuff all over his face, and it really makes you wonder. I don't know. So now Lauren's body, has been taken for an autopsy. We are waiting the results for those. And of course, we're awaiting trial for BRICEN, which I definitely will be following. I really hope that justice is served. But there are a few other components that I thought would be interesting to go over in relation to this case. And so I thought I would just share them with you guys. One being the status of the judge, Cheryl Blackburn. Again, that's the one who allowed for BRICEN's bond to be reduced and ultimately for BRICEN to be released from Davidson County Jail. So, when I looked into her, I found some interesting stuff, you guys. This article right here, titled "Defense Attorneys Question the Competency of Judge Cheryl Blackburn." It was published on April 12th, 2024. So that was just around the time that she approved BRICEN's bond reduction. And so here in the beginning it says, Nashville defense attorneys have taken the extraordinary step of challenging the competency of a longtime criminal court judge, Cheryl Blackburn. So nearly 3 years after the judge suffered a stroke at the courthouse, the legal filings bring into partial public view what had increasingly been the subject of hushed courthouse chatter. The Banner has learned of multiple motions related to Blackburn's capacity that have been filed under seal. However, one motion filed publicly in a felony assault case on Wednesday shed some light on the doubts being raised about her ability to oversee serious criminal cases. Nashville defense attorney Kevin Kelly filed the motion seeking a postponement of his client's trial so that he could research his client's constitutional rights to have his trial heard by a judge who is competent to rule on issues related to this trial. Whoa. Further down the article, it says, former public defender Dawn Diener said that motions to remove a judge are not made lightly and involve significant risk to attorneys and the people they represent. There is this underlying concern as a lawyer that if you file a motion that a judge might find offensive, that they will take it out on you the lawyer, or they will take it out on your clients, or that they will take it out on your future clients, she said. In her view, some judges are very much seen as kings and queens of their courtroom, and it's kind of like the old saying, if you come at the king, you better not miss. Whoa. That's really, really scary to me. It seems like there is a lot of room for abuse of authority and little room for accountability. And I firmly believe that no one should hold a position that is free from accountability. No one, not even a judge. Multiple motions have been filed under seal regarding Judge Blackburn's competency. So, in my mind, if multiple people are complaining of the same thing, there's probably something that should at least be looked into or investigated. If it's not one person, you have to wonder if there's some credibility to this. And, the fact that everybody needs to be all hush about their concerns for the fear of the judge taking it out on them or their clients, that just screams corruption. Does it not? Am I alone on that? And then I wonder if she is incompetent. Is that why she made that decision to let him have a reduced bond and let him be released from jail? Because again, the crimes that he was being arrested for that December incident are horrific. He was extremely violent. And the picture, just covered in her blood. It's just horrific. And the fact that her father told the judge, if you release him from jail, he truly believed that he would kill her. I just don't understand how this was overlooked and how he was released. Another interesting thing that I did see regarding this case was that BRICEN's mother, Chelsea Rivers, again, I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right, but it is spelled that way. She was actually on BRICEN's Facebook arguing with people regarding her son. So, of course, when the news broke of this, the internet did the internet thing and tracked down BRICEN's social media accounts and began leaving tons of angry comments on his posts. Understandably so. People are upset for a lot of different reasons. Of course, the biggest reason being that BRICEN was let out of jail and brutally murdered Lauren. People are really, really upset. There's also speculation, though, that his mother, Chelsea, is the one that bailed BRICEN out. And this is based on the GoFundMe that Lauren's dad created, which, by the way, I will have the GoFundMe linked in the description of this video. So, if you're called to donate, you can go ahead and definitely follow the link and go there and donate to the family. But it was from this GoFundMe account that, according to Lauren's dad, that Chelsea was the one that paid his bond. He said, her abuser, BRICEN Rivers, was put in jail, and I told the court, the DA, and the judge that he would kill her if they let him out. BRICEN told others that he was going to kill her too. A high bond of $251,000 was placed. Restraining orders were filed if he escaped. Lauren and I were supposed to be notified of any court proceedings or if he was released for any reason. The felony conviction for this crime may have been a life sentence, and trial was supposed to be in the next 2 months. After 7 months in jail, Judge Cheryl Blackburn in Nashville, Tennessee, reduced his bail to $150,000, and his mom paid $15,000 to bail him out. So you can read through the whole thing. It's pretty heartbreaking reading this. Like I said, this was put together by her father. But yeah, this is where ultimately the public determined that it was his mother that paid the bond. So naturally, when Chelsea got on BRICEN's Facebook and started responding to comments, things got really heated. Since then, it looks like she's actually deleted her comments, but like I said, I did take some screenshots. I'm assuming either she deleted them because she was getting, so much harassment, because she really is, or maybe she was recommended to do so, by legal counsel. But here are a few of them that I found interesting that I thought I'd share with you guys. You can pause and read, like I said, if you want. But in these, she does mention that schizophrenia runs on his father's side. And she does imply that the male role model in his life, I'm assuming she's referring to his father, but that is what made him hate women. She also denies here that she was the one that bailed him out of jail. So I will be interested to see if the truth comes out regarding this and who indeed paid his bail. And then in this next one, she also talks about BRICEN's, alleged genius IQ, how he loves Jesus and God, and how Lauren supposedly cheated on him shortly after BRICEN proposed. And obviously this was an inappropriate thing to say, seeing as Lauren was killed, not necessary to claim that she did or did not cheat on him. Many people found this comment to be, victim blaming. And of course, in the circumstances, I'd have to agree. Why should even make mention of that? It's not relevant, not important, as if that makes what he did okay. I don't see why she would ever say that. And yeah, a lot of people had a lot of choice words to say against her, against her son. And so, like I said, ultimately, it looks like she did delete her comments. But in the end, I just have a lot of questions. Why was BRICEN's bond reduced when he was clearly a violent offender? Who paid BRICEN's bond? If he was going to be released, why not at minimum? All right, because I don't think he should have been released, but if he was going to be released, why not at minimum have a GPS monitor on him before letting him leave the jail? Why not wait until the following day to release him once it had passed that 4 p.m. mark and we knew that the GPS company was not going to be open? Instead, why did we take him to another GPS company that didn't know the stipulations of his bond? Why didn't the bond agent that was transporting BRICEN know the terms of his bond and actually, alert the tracking agency like, hey, he can't return to Mississippi? Why did the tracking agency take BRICEN at his word when he was a violent offender that he was allowed to return to Mississippi? How did Brian get to Mississippi? Why was Lauren's family notified 4 days after his release and not before he was actually released, so they could have done something to protect her, prepare for his release? Why did the Hattiesburg Police Department wait until the day after she was reported missing to track her vehicle? Why did no one do their jobs and actually take steps to protect Lauren, aside from her father, who was trying, who was really advocating for his daughter? Why did no one do their job to protect Lauren? And now that BRICEN has been arrested on murder charges, why was he given a bond again? Why would we not hold him without bond? Make that make sense to me. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that the judge should be held accountable for actually allowing BRICEN to be released from jail or reducing his bond? Do you think that the bond agent that took him to the other GPS tracking company should be held responsible or have some liability here? Do you think that the GPS tracking company should have some liability because they took BRICEN for his word that he could return to Mississippi? So many people made so many huge mistakes. And regardless, at the end of the day, nothing is going to bring Lauren back. What happened was permanent. Lauren will never be back on this earth again, and her family is left to grieve her. And she missed out on what could have been a very fulfilling life. She was so young. Instead, BRICEN or whoever, you know what I'm saying here, allegedly, BRICEN stole her life from her. And it's absolutely infuriating. But yeah, I would love to know what you guys think about this. I'll definitely be staying updated with it. But yeah, until then, let me know what you guys think. And as always, I wish you guys nothing but the best. I hope that life is treating you well wherever you are. And I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.
If you're going to let repeat offenders and criminals and murderers out with your bond system that's very low, you better have a backup plan that works better to make sure that those people aren't killing people, and they don't have that.